This is the third year that I put together this little record of steam railway activity in Somerset, and we start as usual at the West Somerset Railway Spring Gala, and our start point here is Withered Arm station, and we see John, one of the stalwarts members of the station staff, waiting the arrival of the first passenger train. He's already seen a goods train pass through, a demonstration goods, but he's now waiting the LSWR class 4300 5322, which is a 260 introduced by the GWR in 1911. So this loco is already a century old and some, and she runs smoothly into the station.
Oh, that's brilliant. Thank you so much.
Withered Arm is one of the crossing points, locomotive crossing points that is, on the railway, which would otherwise be single track between Taunton and Minehead, from the Norton Fitzwarren junction at least. And the locomotive in the distance is actually a Southern Railway U-class locomotive, number 31806, which is one of the locomotives introduced based on a Monsell rebuild in 1928. So that too is approaching its century. It's running down the hill, which unfortunately means it doesn't make a great deal of smoke, and then it shuts off as it rounds the curve on the entrance to Withered Arm station, so the spectacle is somewhat reduced. The crew seem pretty relaxed about the whole thing as they hear the station staff's whistle and prepare to leave the station. The fireman is still propping up the fire there, and in a moment or two she will pull away ahead of the down train, the train which is heading in the Minehead direction. The dampness of the air today, and as you will see a bit later in the film, the dampness tomorrow certainly enhances the spectacle of steam and smoke on a steam railway. We can now turn our attention to the departure of our GWR hauled train in the Minehead direction. That will climb up the slope towards Rochford, and so we should get even more steam and smoke. Great. I've now made my way down to Washford Station, and we see the Somerset and Dorset, or ex-Somerset and Dorset Railway engine number 88, which is acting as a backup locomotive for this Gala. So it's operating in the sidings of the Somerset and Dorset Railway Trust here at Washford, shunting a small amount of stock. There's some good stock, and there's also the S&D's refurbished 6-wheel coach, which is a beautiful restoration, and we shall see that a bit later on. Meanwhile, number 88 ambles up and down the little complex of lines there, which adds a moving backdrop whilst we wait for the next train to arrive. If you were wondering about the Mort Ho station name board there, that's because the theme of this Gala is the North Devon, London and South Western Junction Railway route, which was known as the Withered Arm, or at least it was subsequent to closure. And the stations on the West Somerset Railway have been temporarily renamed. Mort Ho was on the line between Barnstaple and Ilfracombe, the seaside rail stopping over point. I've certainly collected train numbers there some 50 or 60 years ago. Now it's Mort Ho for the day. Our attention turns now to the arrival of another train drawn by ex-GWR locomotive Raveningham Hall, which is on the up train from Minehead to Bishop's Lydeard. Up because it's travelling in the London direction. That was the convention of the railways since time immemorial. And she drifts into the station, making a wonderful spectacle. The station staff man forgets the script and announces the train as having arrived at Washford. Here you see the station pilot drawing out of store the wonderfully restored six-wheeled coach ex Somerset and Dorset Railway. A beautiful restoration. Having arrived just too late from my lunch, I just missed a clear view of the locomotive on the front of this train. You'll just have to accept from me that it's Southern Railway Battle of Britain class locomotive Manston, which I didn't actually see again during my time on the railway. Nevertheless, there she is, making plenty of smoke as she leaves Washford Station. And there again is another view of the beautifully restored S&D coach, attached now to locomotive number 88, and assorted goods wagons, rather incongruous. At the end of the platform at Washford is a signal cabin, the contents of which are the instruments from Midford signal box on the S&D between Bath and Bournemouth. Beautifully restored and presumably in the situation exactly as they would have been in the box. They're not operational as I understand it, but they make a beautiful display. And a quick trip down the road to one of my favourite locations on the line, where you got a clear sweeping view of an interesting climb between Blue Anchor and Washford Station, and this is the Devon Bell formation making a climb up the line. Watch and wonder. Back to Willerton now, and there's a down train in the station, and the folk are just leaving. lady there in her striking red dress looking a bit lost, but the Devon Bell should be arriving down the slope in a few moments. And now we can see the locomotive which put in such a splendid performance up the slope just now. It's the West Country locomotive Wadebridge 34007 drifting quietly into the station with the Devon Bell headboard up front. and she disappears in the Bishop's Lydiard direction, her distinctive 3-cylinder exhaust beat resonating around the countryside. And now we're back at Bishop's Lydiard for the arrival of Wadebridge and the Devon Belle, and a little black cat there spends one of his 9 lives crossing in front of this great train, but does it quite safely, and she too will drift into the station, and then her train will be picked up by Raveningham Hall, ready to take it in the other direction again. So there's no stopping on the West Somerset Railway during a gala. Raveningham Hall is already in view at the other end of the station. Wadebridge will be detached from her train and she'll travel light engine to Norton Fitzwarren to be turned on the new triangle there. So most of the trains I've seen, in fact all the trains I've seen during this gala, have been running boiler first, so they've all been making use either of the Minehead turntable or the Norton Fitzwarren triangle.
Andy, don't bother with steam, mate. You let me know.
Rather lengthy film there of the preparation of Ravenham Hall, ready for her departure in the Minehead direction. But it's our last train on film for today, and we prepare ourselves for tomorrow, which proved to be extremely wet. But it didn't stop us keeping some record of what we saw. Until tomorrow. And the first locomotive that we see at Williton on a very wet Friday morning is indeed Ravenham Hall again, sitting quietly there in the station platform waiting for the arrival of the train from Bishop's Lydeard, where they will cross. We're under cover, of course, because the station bridge has now got its roof, which means that all these chappies are quite dry, and it makes a wonderful vantage point. And so we await the arrival of our train from Bishop's Lydeard. Just visible through the bridge, approaching us from Bishop's Lydeard, is Wadebridge once again, the West Country locomotive, with her train drifting quietly into the station where she will cross Ravenham Hall. Locomotives for different regions, of course, didn't normally meet except at places like Salisbury, and I guess there must be others, but we certainly didn't get any southern engines in Bristol. And here she is, coming out through the cloud of smoke. Half an hour later, and John Parsons peers up the line in the Minehead direction, looking for the up train. Meanwhile, the Maunsell reappears under the bridge, number 31806, with its train to Minehead.
good. Somerset had good looking ones.
Back again at Washford as number 88 with a different member of crew on board. Continues her shunting operations and stays in readiness should she be needed on the main line. I wasn't there for the last 2 days of the gala, so I don't know quite whether she was called upon. The weather was pretty horrible on Friday, so this is a view from inside the signal cabin. There was no sign of the much delayed down train in the Minehead direction, so I disappeared by road in that same direction, and when I arrived the Southern Railway U-Class loco was just leaving the turntable, and she will disappear up the line and cross over into the yard on the other side underneath the water tower alongside Wade Bridge, which is already there. Also in the yard on the other side of the station was Kilmerston. It had obviously been shipped down from Washford and was involved in the driver loco for a fiver scheme. In the distance and coming towards us is the U-Class loco, the Munson 31806. Just as I was preparing to leave Minehead, Wadebridge put on a steam spectacular. Sit back and watch. Wadebridge proceeded to put on another display, equally spectacular, further up the platform. I don't know quite what the name for that is, but the drifting steam brings our little film to a close.